That's right.
And now, the Honorable Erik Wiese.
Oh! Oh! Yes!
That was a great book.
The Honorable.
Fellow Toastmasters and enraptured guests, welcome to Mount Helix on Mount Helix. I did this about a year ago, and a year ago I came in front of all of you and I had been challenged by Mark Raftery just a week before to come up with a hero, a living hero that all of us, or I specifically, could talk about. And at that time I talked about a gentleman by the name of Mr. Wiedenfield. And Mr. Wiedenfield is a guy who, through the help of a bunch of nuns in a Catholic order, was smuggled out of Germany around World War II. He's alive today because a bunch of Catholic nuns smuggled him out. And what he decided to do in return is he was a Jewish publisher who lived in Britain. He made huge, huge amounts of money. And he thought, there's only one way I can pay back what those nuns did, and it's to pay it forward. And so he essentially adopted 200 or 300 Syrian refugees who are Chaldeans and Catholics who were being persecuted, who were being beheaded, who were being shot by ISIS over in Syria. And he invited them to come into Britain, and he smoothed all the paperwork for them. He set them up with adopted families. He made sure that they could start learning the language. He got them some minimum wage jobs, and minimum wage jobs were cheaper and it was easier to do. And he effectively helped those people to have a new life away from the crisis that they were at. And while I was thinking about this in the middle of church instead of paying attention to the priest, the priest finally broke through and said, and if you are thinking what you can do to save a life, and all of a sudden I woke up because that's exactly what Mr. Wiedenfield had been doing. If you're thinking what you can do to go save a life, we have a blood bank right outside. And you can go outside right after this Mass and give blood. And you can help save a life. You can. Everyone who doesn't have AIDS and hasn't visited a prostitute in the last 12 months can go outside and give blood. Well, this was terrifying to me. I hate giving blood. I would rather swim in shark-infested waters than give blood. I would rather bungee dive than give blood. I'd rather go cold calling. Well, actually, I've got so used to cold calling, that's not a big deal anymore.
Wear Crocs in public.
I wear Crocs in public like this and be ridiculed by my friends mercilessly week after week rather than give blood. But I thought to myself, God is trying to tell me something. He is trying to tell me to pay attention in church, but second, to go give blood. So I left at that time, and I went on over to the place, answered all the questions correctly. They don't even get excited until you answer the questions correctly. Then, I mean, if you don't meet their qualifications, they do not want your blood. Blood is not created equal. There are differences, and they don't want you. You don't meet their criteria. But I met their criteria. Then they smiled at me like I was a real human being. Then they tested me to see how much iron I had. And now they measure iron differently than then. But I was acceptable. I was in the middle range of iron, which is good. And one of the other benefits that they have is once you start donating blood regularly, they will take your cholesterol count, they'll take your blood pressure, they'll take your pulse, and they'll put it on a neat little graph online for you. So that you, because guys like to see graphs, they like to know they're improving, they like to know that their blood pressure's going down, their pulse is going up, they're getting healthier. And so once it's put on a graph, you have some incentive to show up the next time and look a little bit better. And then they went ahead and sucked all this blood out of me, about 1 pint. And I found out something else. San Diego Blood Bank does have smelling salts. I was afraid they might not have them, but they do. Thank goodness. I've given blood about 20 times in my life, and 3 times I have woken up staring at a beautiful nurse saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay down there? Are you okay?" And that's like, oh, what happened? This time I was in a chair. So the nurse was closer, and I didn't clunk out for quite as long. I didn't have a massive bruise on the back, but they did need smelling salts, which just goes to show how terrifying this experience really is. So why do I do it? I do it to face my fears. That's why I do it. It's sort of stupid, but I face my fears to try and overcome it and maybe save a life in the process. So that's what I did today, and I can give you some hints. Make sure when you go in that you've had lots of fluids. Make sure you've eaten a big meal. Make sure you get a nice comfy chair, one that can be elevated with your feet up above your head. And make sure that you're dealing with somebody who's a nurse who you've quizzed a couple times to make sure she's not a newbie. They have given me newbies before. This is experience as bad as it was, and I don't mean to discourage you from giving blood by any means, so I hope you don't take this the wrong way. But I had some newbie who wanted to experiment upon me, and she asked my permission. And I said, well, I'll give you one shot, but the second time you have to get somebody else. And this was a year ago, and she plucked it in, and the vein moved. And so she started moving the needle around to try and get it. And foolish me, I was trying to distract myself, so I was actually on my cell phone talking to somebody at the time, going, and finally I said, stop! I had a second person do it who got it done correctly. So my experiences in giving blood have not been good, but yours will be better. I'm sure of it. I'm sure of it. And the people who are dying need your blood. They need it. So I would recommend that you go ahead and plan on doing this. I had a joke I was going to tell as part of my other story. Oh, this is the joke. There's a little boy who's staring up at church at this big plaque. And he's reading the names on these plaques and some dates that are by. And the priest comes up and says, what are you doing, son? He said, I'm looking at these people on the plaque. What does this mean, Father? He says, those are people who died in service. And the little kid looked terrified and said, which service, the 8:30 or the 10 o'clock? So I would encourage you, nothing is worth not saving a life for. Go off and have fun and do this. And now my turn is done giving my little impromptu speech, and I'm going to give each and every one of you a chance to come up and tell us whatever you want to say. It can be about anything. It can be about giving blood. It can be about a great experience that you had in your life. It can be about the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you in your life. It can be how neat it is to be up here and have this gorgeous view and live in this fabulous society, and how wonderful it is to be an American, or how blessed we are to have this amazing wealth that we have in our country, or anything that you want to choose to talk about. This is basically open mic session without a mic.
Mr. President, close us.
Awesome.
Be the closer.
So guys, what do you call the east end of Sweden? The finish line.
Oh, okay. Boy, sure glad we're having that 2-for-1 whiskey night.
Hey, it's
Good thing we
appropriate.
didn't drink before we came here.
So this gentleman was going all over the world, and he was visiting these spots in all these foreign countries. He went to Italy, he went to the cathedral, and he saw this gold phone on a marble statue. And he asked the priest, what is this gold phone for? And he said, that is a direct line to God. It only costs you $1,000. He said, oh, wow, that's great, but I can't afford it. So he left, he went further on. He went to Naples. He found another mausoleum that had a beautiful marble column right there with a gold phone on it. He said, how much does it cost you here? He said, yeah, you got it. You probably know. It's a telephone call to God, and it costs $1,000. So then he left. He came back to America. He went over to the cathedral in Washington, D.C. that looks just like Notre Dame. He found a marble statue there. He asked the priest, is this the same place that you can make a call to God? He says, yes, you can. That is a gold phone to God. He said, it costs $1,000, right? I said, no, it's only 50 cents. 50 cents? Why is it only 50 cents? The priest said, well, a call to God is local here. You see, I listen to you guys stand up and talk about exceptionalism. Exceptionalism, how Toastmasters has made you exceptional. Similar to having God located locally for all the priests who want an intimate experience with God. And it's only appropriate to have that with the big cross that's up on the top.
Yeah, here we are.
We're here to get better. for me to tell jokes that get funnier every week, hopefully. To get more people to figure out what's funny and what isn't. And to take my skills and use it to help my marriage. That is a key. It is both helpful to get away from the house and out with you guys, and useful to have some way to diffuse the tension when I come back. Because there is sometimes tension in a relationship. And you can find out what works. Because the Dale Carnegie-isms that we practice here are not just read in a book, they are practiced in front of people who will give you instant feedback as to what's funny and what isn't, and what's sexist and what isn't. And exactly, and what you can wear on your feet and what you can't. There's a lot of great feedback that we give each other, and that's why we are the best club ever. I really do believe that. Well, it's the only club I've gone to, but it's the best one that I've ever gone to. I firmly believe that. We are exceptional. I love you guys. You make me better. I love participating in this stuff. Let's go to Post Toasties.
Do they actually give you a hard time about those shoes?
No, just Joe.
No,
I've got a pair of those. They're incredible.
They are.
They're
too.
lightweight.
They're awesome.
They wear forever.
Just
And
don't leave
they
the house
cost
with
next to nothing.
He's just jealous. He wishes
I
I
just
could
don't leave
buy
the
him
house
a
with them.
pair.
I just give him a hard time.
Yeah.
Those plastic